Welcome to Houston Baptist University's Psych 4326, The Psychology of Death and Dying. Reminder, these presentations are only intended to highlight some important or difficult points from the chapter. They are in no way comprehensive and do not include all of the material that students will be held responsible for on exams. You are expected to completely and thoroughly engage with all of the required learning materials. Exams in this course may include questions taken from the textbook readings, videos, and PowerPoint presentations. This presentation covers some important topics from Chapter 5 in our textbook. Make sure you read all the chapter and take notes. There is much more material in the chapter than we are covering in this presentation. Back is not a single homogeneous. The United States is not a single homogeneous entity with only one universal cultural death system and a single set of death-related encounters, attitudes, and practices. Instead, there's a kaleidoscope of rich cultural heritages. In this chapter, we explore specific patterns of death-related encounters in 4 selected racial or ethnic groups of the U.S. Hispanic Americans. In comparing these different cultures' attitudes towards death, it is important to consider things such as the importance of family, the role of religion, trust or lack of trust in the medical community, the relationship between life and death, and how fatalistic our culture tends to be. There are also cultural differences in death-related practices. For example, who cares for the dying? Family members? Females only? Or do they seek outside assistance? Presence at death. How important is it for someone to be there with the person who is dying? What sort of events directives are in place? Will they choose at some point to be taken off of life support? Who will make that choice? How open are they to hospice services? How accustomed are they to violent death, and does that change their ability to grieve? Mourning practices. Do they openly mourn and wail? Or must they be strong and grieve silently in private? After death rituals may vary as some take on the rituals of the dominant culture, and where to bury this deceased can be a difficult decision due to ties to both country of origin and the survivors living in the U.S. 4 cultures that are extremely important in American culture. Some similarities and some differences in their attitudes towards death and death-related practices. Make sure you look over these attitudes and practices, find the commonalities, find the differences, find the beauty and meaning in their cultural practices. I'll see you next chapter.